This is an illuminated manuscript called the Crusader Bible. These are two of many, many pages. It's basically an illustrated Bible, yes? There are many stories in the Bible, and so if you want to create an illustrated Bible, you're going to spend a lot of time painting, as they liked to do in medieval times, where this manuscript is from. From the many stories illustrated here, we will focus today mostly on one, which is shown here in this close-up. And I'd like to start by asking those of you who are guests here, who are not regular members, who should be seeing this for the first time, if you recognize what are we seeing in this image, in this painting. It is a famous biblical story, so the question should not be difficult, but still, let's see. The other group I hosted earlier today didn't know. Let me describe what we see. And again, those of you who are attending a lecture with me for the first time, see if this rings a bell. First of all, and I admit it throws you off, we see this character two times. First over here, and then again over here. It's two different scenes. It's like we're looking at a comic books. Two adjacent scenes, one side by side. First, this man has been walking with a staff. This is not any staff. This is the staff of a sheep herder. So this man is herding sheep, and he is walking his sheep to the backside of the desert. And then he sees this very unusual sight. There is a tree or a bush, and if you look ever so closely, this bush is on fire. Do you see these little red, they didn't survive so well. You see these little red flames? The bush is on fire. Does this help reveal who this is? It's okay if not. In fact,
is it Moses?
Sorry, yes?
Is it Moses?
Yes, that's it, Morgan. It is Moses. And what is the scene, Morgan? Can you give us a little more?
Is it, well, it looks like Jesus depicted there, but I assume it's God appearing to Jesus or to Moses.
That's right, Morgan. Thank you. That is it. Moses has taken his sheep to the backside of the desert, and there he sees a bush that is on fire, but it is not being consumed. Okay, these are little important details. The bush is on fire, so like a tree on fire, but the fire just keeps burning. The bush is not, it's not consuming the bush. So this is a miracle, yes? Of course, it raises the curiosity of Moses, and so he draws near to check it out, and as he comes closer, God, you're right, Morgan, in the form of Jesus, because this is a Christian Bible, and they depict usually God as Jesus, the Son of God. God speaks out from the bush, and the first thing he tells Moses is to take off his shoes, which we see him doing here, because the ground upon which you are standing is holy, says God. Okay, very good. Now, there are many levels of meanings of all these stories. By the way, not only the Bible, it's true of the Hindu Vedas, it's true of Buddhist texts, it's true in Islam. All religions and all stories that come to us from religions have many layers of meaning. The most external layer, the most superficial layer, is taking them literally. That this is a magical event that happened some 3,500 years ago. And of course, there are big, significant schools of thought that believe this, that claim this. In fact, it is thought that it occurred right down here at the base, the foothills of a mountain now called the Mountain of Moses, Jabal Musa. And not even that, there is a monastery that is built right there around the very tree that still survives till today, 3,500 years, that was on fire, speaking to Moses in the name of God. This is the most literal meaning, yes, the most literal interpretation. But when we deal with any knowledge, in fact, not just biblical knowledge, even something said 100 years ago by somebody, by some scientist, by some philosopher, we come up against what I like to call the broken telephone phenomenon. This is a well-known game. I'm sure most of you, maybe all of you, know of it. Take, in this image, I think there are 14 people. Whisper something to the first one, let's say the person here. Ask him or her to whisper it to the next, who will whisper it to the next, who will whisper it to the next, and so on and so forth. By the time you get to the last person, you ask that person to share the message with the entire room. And usually, of course, the message is entirely different than the original one that you had whispered to person number one. Especially if it's a more complex message. Imagine we were, actually, look at us today, we're 60. It's a very large meeting. Imagine we were together physically. And imagine I whispered to one of you once there was a sheep herder who took his flock to the foothills of a mountain, and there he saw a tree that was on fire, but it was not being consumed. So he drew close to the tree, and as he came close, the voice of God came out of the tree and spoke to him and told him, Moses, take off your shoes, because the ground on which you stand is holy. Just that. Imagine I whispered it to one person today. Actually, we're more than 60, aren't we? Because some of you are sitting together. And then imagine each of you passed it on. How would it sound at the end? We are up against the broken telephone when we deal with any knowledge that is ancient. The Crusader Bible is dated to 1250, Common Era, almost 800 years ago. That's about 40 generations ago. That means the message passed through 40 ears, 40 different generations, receiving it, reinterpreting it, and passing it on to a new generation who did exactly the same. Received it, changed it a bit, reinterpreted it, and passed it on. Now, the story is actually not as young as 1250. This is just the Crusader Bible. Moses is thought to have lived in 13th century BC, before the Common Era. That's 166 generations ago, 166 people, if you like, passing the message from ear to ear. So all this goes to say that we, in the 21st century, should feel free to question the literal interpretation of this story. Yes, it may mean that, it may mean a million other things. We don't need to deny its historicity. That's beside the point for us. It's okay if there existed a Moses. There may well have existed a Moses. He may well have seen something miraculous. But all I'd like to say is that we should be open to other interpretations, as we will be sharing today and in the course of the next 3 days.